So introducing Catherine Leon from SCAD Alliance, which is an organization that supports you all as patients and also supports the research efforts through the national registries that ultimately becomes a lot of the data and information science we're able to present to you today. So we're very fortunate to have the support of Catherine, and the SCAD Alliance would not exist without her. And thank you again so much for being here, and looking forward to your talk.
Yeah, I think I was virtual last time, right?
Yes.
We came down with the flu. Well, it's very nice to be here. Super excited. I am a little stressed out, though, now that we've been talking about migraine and the need to exercise and eat right and all those things. But it's great to be here and hopefully give you some information that's helpful. I put on our cover slide here, support, collaborate, advocate, discover, which is kind of our mantra, our slogan at SCAD Alliance, because of course you all know by now it stands for spontaneous coronary artery dissection. And just by a quick show of hands, how many people have had a SCAD? Okay, it's not good, but I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that you're learning both about FMD and SCAD, because when I had my SCAD, that was not an option. It took a while for everybody to connect in the world of science and medicine to see that there was an association. So we've come a long way thanks to people like Dr. Wells. And I forgot to ask how to make this move.
Arrow down.
Arrow down?
Right there.
This one?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. So here is our board. We are Survivor Strong, and that's been intentional from the very beginning. We felt that in coming together, we wanted SCAD Alliance to represent not only this perspective of this patient, but over time we've incorporated family members as well and friends. So currently our board chair, this is left to right across the top, is Naisha Parks. In the middle there is a younger, more rested me, believe it or not. And to the far right is Rebecca Freeman. And the three of us were postpartum in different variations, and we had different treatments. And I think you know that's a common theme among SCAD. Sometimes it's medication management, which is the preferred. Sometimes it's a stent. In the case of Naisha and myself, we had open heart surgery. Rebecca actually had her first SCAD when she was 21 and a track runner in college, and they had no idea what it was at the time, and went on to have a second one after her second child. The bottom row is our treasurer, Tricia McDaniel. She falls into the friend category. I've known her since I was 10, and she's our trustworthy money manager. Maureen Garvey is next, and she had hers related to CrossFit types of workout. She's a nurse and happened to have 2 SCADs. Second one was a sudden cardiac arrest, but similar situation of, you know, a hard workout and then an ultimate SCAD after that. Ann Fitzpatrick is a board member who's also had an exercise-related one and delayed diagnosis because nobody could believe that she was having a heart attack. And Kira Alston is our most recent board member, and she has had 2 SCADs. And her first was related to, they believe, just a very intense illness. You know, she was super sick and went to the hospital after vomiting and had a horrible cough, and they dismissed her, no diagnosis. And the second time was during the pandemic, a very traumatic Zoom bomb at work, interestingly. So again, it shows the full spectrum of how SCAD can present and also be triggered among patients. And of course, we do know some guys, and theirs are typically related to fitness, and we don't have a male on the board at the moment, but part of our mission too, as I mentioned, was to incorporate family and friends. And I think this word cloud sort of sums up why. You know, the biggest word on there is family. And we pulled this from, I believe this was a Vancouver meeting when we gave out our little icebreaker questionnaire, where it's just kind of a rapid response 5-question survey. And putting it into this word cloud engine brought up these topics. So family's number one, but you see the need for understanding in the presence of fear, the concern about exercise, and life balance. And we also incorporate clinicians and researchers into our team intentionally from the get-go because, again, SCAD affects them as well, particularly in the early days when there wasn't much understanding of it and a base of knowledge to share with the patient. So more often than not, doctors are in the position of saying, well, we don't know, or as you've heard over and over, we need more research, which is upsetting to us, but I can only imagine what it's like to a doctor to have to say that to a patient who's really desperate for some information. And they are superheroes, just saying. So to sum that up, we're integrated, collaborative approach to work on our physician awareness and understanding of SCAD. We're trying to expand patient and caregiver support and education, advance the research, and basically just unite with people who have the common goal of understanding SCAD, raising the profile of it, worldwide, because we know it's an international disease. It's not just America. And hopefully someday I will have disclosures that say we are funded by someone. So this slide to me just sums it all up, because I think probably when you were diagnosed, the doctor was kind of like, oh, well, it's called SCAD, and, we don't really know a lot about it, but your artery tore, and there you are, like, you're totally by yourself, like, what now, Do I try to go down and cross the mountains? Do I stand up here? Do I jump? What do I do? So I hope this resonates with you like it does with me. And this is why when I put this in here, just actually to remind myself of my gratitude for all that's been done in the last, gosh, my son's 21. So, but I would say like the last 15 years for sure, we've made a lot of progress, even though it might not feel like it every day as a patient. We love to collaborate. That was another key component to our organization originally. And thanks to some really strong leadership, Dr. Esther Kim, Dr. Melissa Wood. Esther Kim's the one that jump-started the American Heart Association scientific statement that's been referenced earlier. I didn't include a picture, but that came out in 2018. And it just was like she just dove in and wanted to create a document that showed everything that was known of SCAD at that time. And Dr. Wells was involved. The whole spectrum of the sites at the time contributed to the writing of that document. We started early on with some groundbreaking psychosocial research. We put a strong emphasis on PTSD because we felt anecdotally in the beginning that it is a provoking situation for PTSD. And now we're seeing some of that validated. And again, this is just another like tooting our horn about coordinating with doctors and researchers and other professionals. But we did try to move beyond just cardiology and target what we call as the front lines clinicians. So we're talking emergency medicine, nurses, mental health, and obstetrics gynecology. And our program that we're most proud of, as you probably or hopefully have heard about, is the iSCAD registry, and Emory is one of our key sites under the leadership of Dr. Wells. Just briefly, this schematic kind of shows you how it works, and the fundamental goal with it when we started it was the idea that the research process should be very democratic and bring together a diverse population of patients and really get to the root cause, not make assumptions about what SCAD is, but really bring patients into the registry as soon as they can after diagnosis, and then track their progress and capture all that data. So the centers around the country contribute the data of the patients into a coordinating center that's totally independent from any organization or academic institution, and it's run by Dr. Michael Gibson in Boston. His statisticians create the data. We have a publications committee that vets ideas for papers. Those are evaluated and run through a steering committee, and then all the contributing authors put the paper together. And those are presented at like the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology. Right now, we have 25 sites and we're growing. SCAD Alliance, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that I'm executive director of now, and that team at the beginning is the board. We are the sole funder. Again, this is just the highlights, but I think what I want to point out on this slide is that the iSCAD registry is unique in another way, and that is the involvement of patients. From day one, we have put out surveys and questionnaires and compiled all the patient data that we've had over the many years to target what are areas of importance to patients and what do patients think needs to be assessed. And a good example of this would be like sleep apnea. You know, I personally have severe sleep apnea, and I think it's underdiagnosed in women, and that's something that we've added, just one example. But I feel very honored that the doctors invite our participation, and know that too, if you're contacting, our organization with an idea or a question, that's going to become the base of our feedback to our clinicians as we go into our next iteration of the iSCAD registry. So in this first 5 years since we launched in 2019 with the registry, we've had 1 article accepted, 2 are submitted, and 7 are currently being written. So again, we're just super proud of our data, the quality of it, and making a difference, hopefully, for patients. The accepted publication is the one I mentioned on PTSD and SCAD. The submitted ones are headache and SCAD, and then sex differences in SCAD between men and women. Then in writing, we have Takotsubo, the complicated hospital course for the SCAD patient, use of antiplatelet therapies, persistent LV dysfunction, pregnancy-related SCAD, vascular abnormalities, and then a hormones paper.
Excuse me, what is Takotsubo?
Takotsubo, have you ever heard of the one that's, it's the octopus pot, is like the literal translation of it, and it's when the apex of the heart balloons, and there seems to be some association, and I should be letting a cardiologist talk. Would you like to answer this?
You're doing great.
I've been doing this a long time, but I'm not a doctor.
So it's a stress-induced cardiomyopathy, and you also may have heard of broken heart syndrome. It's the same thing. And the Takotsubo refers to the shape because the apex does balloon where the base of the heart is hypercontractile, and it occurs usually after a stressful event, and that creates a catecholamine or adrenaline surge that causes usually a temporary damage to the heart muscle. So the relationship between SCAD and that Takotsubo, stress-induced cardiomyopathy.
Thank you. Here's our current sites. You can read them probably pretty well. And we're excited to add the Victor Chain Clinical Research Institute in Australia this year. They're doing a lot of exciting work. And, I know people look at it and think, well, gosh, there's all those gaps across the country. And we are constantly, looking for other institutions and having some approach us. And there's a vetting process to be sure that, we're getting the quality of the data that we expect and need going forward. So hang in there, there'll be more. Then I know I'm short on time, so I'll just quickly go through what we do as an organization. You can see on there we have a lot of information on our website and other places on the internet. Our website has what we call the SCAD Warrior modules, which is a self-paced activity for newly diagnosed patients, and it has modules that you can return to over time. It's like refreshers for some mental health topics or whatever your interests are. We have a new resource that I had out on the table, and for whatever reason, they've already changed the name of it. It's one are doing. So it's now called Band Health. But if you scan the QR code on that postcard, you will go to Band Health. And it's a direct way to connect with other patients who have SCAD, also caregivers, family friends, I should say, There's a group for young women and a group for men. And the idea is it really does kind of function like a dating app, for lack of a better term, but you're describing your interests and that you had SCAD and what your goals are, and it has a lot of capability in it. You can chat with people by message, you can video chat with them if you want. So we're excited about the potential of that, but we still have a lot to learn. Clinicians, again, similar thing. We have a lot of materials on the website, and then the top 5 brochure, which is actually out front, includes QR codes that get you to the Wikidoc SCAD like encyclopedia that was put out by Dr. Gibson up at Perfuse. Has great images if you want to scroll through and learn all about SCAD. And oops, there's my Band-Aid slide. I'm not in love with that name yet. I'm trying. So check it out. Again, we will, as we learn it better, we'll be doing events in there and trying to utilize it from an organizational standpoint. But right now, it is a good way just to connect with other SCAD survivors. And then this is our ultimate vision for everyone with SCAD or is affected by SCAD, including family and friends, is to empower each survivor with an accurate diagnosis, superior outcome, and answers. And we have yet another QR code that takes you right to our website. So I appreciate your listening and very glad you're here. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact me. There's my email address. Happy to help and lend an ear and hopefully connect you with resources that can help.